those of you who are just joining us, I want to welcome you to our Career Booster webinar series, Making Recruiter Connections, where today we will be talking to some recruiting professionals who are going to give us the inside scoop on how to set yourself apart from the competition and learn some of the effective questions to ask when building strong relationships with recruiters and a lot more. So I'm going to get things going and introduce you to our group. My name is Jeremy Bell, Career Services Manager here at Grantham University. Also joining me is Doug Dimmler.
Hello, how are you?
Thanks for joining us. We'll be moderating today's discussion, and our special guests today include Ms. Tamika Sanders.
Hello.
She is a corporate recruiter for Hallmark Cards. Also joining us is Ashley Graham.
Hello.
Area People Director for Waffle House. And also on the line, we've got Anthony Courtwright, Tony Courtwright with Quicken Loans. Tony, are you with us? We have some hard time hearing Tony. Well, we're going to move forward. I'm going to work on the tech with Tony, but we're going to go ahead and get started with our questions here. So I'm going to start with Tamika with our first question is, so tell me about your role as a corporate recruiter.
I am a corporate recruiter with Hallmark. I actually, at Hallmark, we're siloed. So I work specifically with IT and supply chain groups. So my job is to get out here, network, find the right candidates, make consultative recommendations to my hiring managers about who we're hiring. So, I mean, it's a little bit of everything from start to finish. I'm helping us find people, get them in place, and making sure that they're a good fit for our organization overall.
Awesome. Ashley?
I'm the Area People Director for Waffle House, so I have the Kansas City market and recently picked up Southwest Missouri, Springfield, and the outlier locations. My job is super simple. All I do is recruit and retain managers. So people who are career-minded, they want to move up in a company, people who just have a really good work ethic. That's kind of what I do in both markets. So I interview from top to bottom, and then I spend a good majority of the time ensuring that they're happy with the company that they work with, that they're treated well by their management, and that they have a great work-life balance.
Awesome. So what role, does the recruiter play in the hiring process?
At Waffle House, it's a little different. So we don't advertise any of our positions available. So Waffle House is 100% face-to-face. So I can message people, I can do things like that, but I'll never post a job. So 85% of my hires come from casual meetings. So things like this, where I meet a recruiter and maybe they know somebody, I build a relationship, they know somebody who might be a great fit, or I'm just out in the community networking with organizations. So what I do is mostly face-to-face. So we don't do any job postings or online things like that.
What about you?
Oh, it can run a gamut. I mean, we do everything from the traditional job sourcing, looking on job boards, looking on LinkedIn, networking, making connections. I mean, we do everything that we can to find the right candidates and making sure that we're in the right place at the right time to find the people for Hallmark.
Very cool.
How do you guys find or source candidates? Tamika, you can start.
Well, first and foremost, we do post our positions to a number of different websites. So whether it's Indeed, Career Builder, we post on a lot of different sources, as well as a traditional Hallmark Careers page. So again, it can be a matter of us, finding someone that applies. Sometimes I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn and they've sent out their resumes, or we've chatted. It could be somebody that knows somebody. So we always, definitely love a strong referral network. I could find somebody at career fairs. It's just really, it depends on, what events we're doing, but sourcing is all encompassing. I'm always sourcing everywhere that we go. I've got a business card, giving it to somebody to see if they're a good connection for Hallmark.
Awesome. So tell me about the relationship between the recruiter and the hiring manager. How does that process start? So when the position opens, where do you go from there?
So before the position opens, we actually sit down and have a consultative meeting with our hiring manager so that we can uncover what's on the job requisition, but also what's not on the job requisition. As many people know, job requisitions typically have a blanket listing of skills and different things like that. So when we consult with them, we want to know, Mr. Hiring Manager, yes, this is what you have down, but what else do we need to know? What soft skills are going to work? What kind of person is going to fit within this group? So we also it's a total consultative process with them because we're their partner. So we're not just someone that's taking orders from them. So we have a good, strong partnership with them. And then from there, the job is posted online, and, we're consultating with them from the first screen. So I'll do a phone screen of the candidates. That way I can kind of gauge their aptitude, their soft skills. I can start to begin to see if they're a culture fit for the organization. And then I'll have a meeting with the hiring manager, and we'll kind of discuss people that we feel like are a good match for that role. From there, we'll bring the person on site. And with Hallmark, it's a little bit different in how we recruit, because we focus more on the candidate experience. So it's not just about making sure that you're a good fit for Hallmark. You may not, we want you to like us and us to like you. So we want you to come tour the facility. You'll meet with everybody that's on the team. So it's a pretty extensive process, but it's tried and true when we find the right people.
Oh,
Ashley, you want to?
Sure, yeah. Well, the hiring manager at Waffle House is typically the region manager, but you would interview with myself, all 3 interviews. So I interview you solo, and then myself in the division, and then myself in the region. But I'm there every step of the way. So ultimately, the decision is up to that region manager, but we are a team. So I have about 50% say, he has about 50% say, and of course, he'll always trump, he'll always trump me, but he's ultimately, we're partners, like exactly what Tamika was just saying, except I'm literally in every interview, every conversation, and it's usually administered by me. So if you apply to Waffle House or want to get a career with Waffle House, I'm the person that you will see more than anybody. So it has to be a really important relationship.
And you guys, can you describe the process when reviewing incoming resumes?
Oh, sure. Well, luckily for me, every single resume that comes through our tracking system, it actually goes directly to me. As long as you fill the information correctly, put Kansas City metro area, things like that, and then it'll filter directly to me. So I actually look through every single resume that I get, every single application that I receive. And I kind of break it down. I feel like everyone deserves a phone call. So I will at least call every single applicant unless there's something deterring to their application. So I will call every applicant and try to at least sit down with them and give them the courtesy that I would enjoy, unless, like I said, something big is in there that doesn't allow me to do that. So it's a pretty good system, especially if they have things that we actually really need. We are transitioning here in the next few months to a completely new hiring process where we're going to go to a competency-based hiring process. So our interview questions will actually be laid out, whereas now we want to get to know the person, see what they're about, and we're actually transitioning more into competency-based. So we're kind of going through that right now.
And how many applicants do you guys see on a regular basis?
Oh gosh.
Well, I'm gonna have you.
Her probably 100 times more. Tamika, you are very vast. I only have the Kansas City and the Springfield market, so I have 26 stores total, 17 up here and 9 down there. So I'm only staffing 26 stores. So essentially 26 managers plus a bench. So I probably, within a 28-day period, am interviewing anywhere from 20 to 40 people total. So our goal is to have a full staff plus extras on the bench for things like promotions, if somebody gets demoted or if they have to leave for a lifestyle reason. So my goal is to have 26 plus about 10 at all times.
Now, you mentioned applicant tracking systems. Do you guys have an applicant tracking system that it goes through and filters to you then?
Yes, but it only filters by generics. So state, and then your region, and then if you put my name down, it'll come directly to me. But as long as essentially that you put the Kansas City metro area or Springfield, Missouri area, it'll just come to me. Waffle House is the most simple company on the planet, so they make it easy for me,
I'm going to check in one more time with Tony. Tony, can you hear? I want to see if you're on the line.
Yeah, can you hear me?
And now, great. Awesome.
Awesome.
We got that fixed. So get Tony's perspective. So Doug, if you could repeat that question for Tony, we're going to get him in the conversation.
Yeah, hey, Tony, can you describe your process when reviewing incoming resumes?
Yeah, so depending on how an applicant applies through either the job board, if I meet them at a career fair, or if it's through a sourcer, it goes to different levels. So it'll come through items, which is our applicant tracking system, and which we're going to Workday, but it'll then go on to my dashboard or one of our other recruiters' dashboards. It'll go to a technical recruiter. So for example, if it's going to go to human resources recruiting, technology recruiting, or something like that, and then it will go to a leader in that department. So that's the process of the resumes to our company.
And approximately how many applicants does your organization see on a regular basis?
Oh, goodness. Well, just to paint a picture, our internship program alone brought in 22,000 applicants just for the summer. So we probably see 50,000 applicants throughout the family of companies that we have.
So the only question I would add to that, so of those 22,000 applicants, what's the final number of the people that actually received those positions?
About 1,200.
Okay.
In our internship program. Yep.
Well, Tamika, I've saved you
yeah.
for last, so if you repeat the question, if you
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So describe your process when reviewing incoming resumes. We're also talking about how many applicants you might see in a given time period.
So the cool thing about Hallmark is we have, although we can meet people in different avenues, everybody is always directed to go to the careers.hallmark.com website to create their profile, upload their resume, and that is the single point that we have for applying to positions in our company. So it's really cool because it keeps, with a number of applications that we get per day, that keeps it kind of simple for us. So an individual will create their profile, they would apply to the position, then each recruiter is assigned a certain number of requisitions per time. So we all look at our recs. So the way that I work is I look at my recs look at my applications once in the morning and then once right before I go home. So I can see and touch each person that applies to the position. Now, I can't make a phone call to everybody that calls Hallmark, and I can't really reach out individually. I try to do the best that I can, but one thing I can guarantee is that they'll either get some form of communication from us. Either it'll be an email that comes from our system that says, you know, we decided to go forward with another candidate, or they will get a personal call from me that just says, hey, you know, I'm definitely interested in chatting a little bit further with you. But when I look at resumes, so it's going to be, I'm looking at a couple of different things. First of all, I'm trying to make sure that the skills that we are looking for first and foremost are on the resume. A lot of people have done a lot of different things and have been in a lot of different roles, but it's the keywords and the things that you say on that resume that get our attention. One of the things that people who are applying always need to remember is that you could see a position and you could think, oh man, I can do that. But if your resume doesn't tell that story and make the connections, we don't know that. So while you could be this outstanding logistics person on the outside or this outstanding technical person on the outside, if we don't see that and you don't have your skills there, you're not going to get that. And you have to remember that you're competing against the best and the brightest for not only Waffle House, but for Hallmark or for any of the other companies here. So if the job posting says we want somebody that has C#, ASP, .NET, like if we list out the technology, make sure that not only that technology is listed on your resume, but show me how you used it. Developed websites on blah, 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 primarily worked on the front end, you know, like show me what you've done and tell a story. Another thing a lot of people get hung up on is it's okay if your resume has 2 pages. So if there's 2 pages on your resume, but you're telling me I can follow what you're doing, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I'm able to connect the dots from what I say I'm looking for and what this person has to offer.
Those skills can be found on the job postings, which are keyworded, just like your resume should be keyworded.
Absolutely.
If you list your skills, then always in your job description of what you do and your duties, it should be how you use those skills.
Yes. So, for example, I have a couple of analytical positions right now, and I'm getting my posting describes how I want you to show me that you've analyzed things, analyzed data, forecasting, that kind of thing. But when in the resumes, I'll see things like created reports in Microsoft Excel. Well, that's a statement, but for you, it says something different if you say, utilize Microsoft Excel to develop reports analyzing blah, 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 blah. Then you've told me what you've done. That's what we're looking for, not a list. Show me application.
Great, that's excellent.
That is excellent. Tony, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I did exactly what she said. When you're going through a resume, and I have sales, marketing, human resources, technology, security, but one thing remains constant when you're putting down bullet points on your resume, and that's the STAR method. It's the situation, the task, the action, and the result that's going into that bullet. So making sure that the job description is fitting inside the resume, and your numbers mean a lot, and results is huge. So just making sure that you have that STAR method in those bullet points is crucial.
Ashley?
We actually feel the same way when we interview. We're transitioning into the STAR method exactly like that. In terms of the way that we review our resumes, our application system is much more thorough than our resume. So it's everything in our application system is what's on your resume, and then you attach your resume. So I actually personally look at your application first. So your application will have your degree, it'll have what level of degree, it'll have how you utilize certain skills. So if you actually look at our application, it'll say, name a time when this. Have you ever had a managerial role? What was it like? How did you do this? So our application system is almost like a first interview in that sense, and then they'll attach their resume, which is what I print off whenever, I'll go speak with a candidate. So we do that exact same thing during the interview.
That's good. So you're answering questions and you're using the resume
Sure, yeah.
as a reference point.
It's important that everybody kind of gets their say and gets a chance to apply for a job. And that is kind of our way of screening them. So I'll see on the application via those questions if I think that they'll be a good culture fit. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I'll give them a phone call and meet with them or, regret them either way. So we kind of do it on the front end. And I have a smaller market. Most of, Waffle House is a southern company. So those markets down there are like 90 stores, and, I only have 26. So it's easier for me to manage through my applications up here than someone like Tamika, super, super fast. So it's a good system. It works really well.
That's good. That's awesome. So the question I have that we see on resumes, people will say certain things, have certain opinions on those, are branding statements or even professional statements. That section at the beginning of the resume that, that really tells you in 3 to 4 sentences who I am and what I'm all about. How important are those to you as someone who's looking at those resumes?
To me, it can be important, but I think a lot of people get caught up on making that the bulk of the resume. And it's important to give me a good introduction, but at the same time, your resume has to be just as strong. So for example, I always encourage candidates to include a strong summary of statement or summary of skills. Give me 3 to 4 bullet points that tell me a little bit about who you are. So for example, if I was talking about myself, I would say a seasoned recruiter with 15 years of experience in full cycle recruiting. Bam, that's my first one. Computer proficient, comfortable with using applicants. So you see what I'm saying? So there's a flow. So that's great, and it tells you a little bit about who I am, but then my resume has to back that up. So sometimes people get caught up in the personal branding statement and forget that the meat of the resume, that's the appetizer. I want the entree. So it has to all flow.
You kind of stole my first thought with that. No, that's a great thing. I'm glad that, different companies are thinking. Yes, so in terms of the objective or the personal, I don't care about that
Mhm.
because I'm going to know everything from either your resume or your application. We look for 4 or 5 things. I want someone who, I mean, we are servant leaders.
Mhm.
So I want someone who's a team player. It's we. It's never them.
Mhm.
Those are things I look for, and I'm going to see that when I ask you a question in your application. So I personally, at least for Waffle House, for our purposes today, I don't care about that.
Mhm.
I'm going to see it in your resume, and I'm going to see it in your application, which is very thorough. I care about, like, intangibles.
Mhm.
That's all I care about. So I don't care that you gave me 5 sentences. I want to know that you're going to show up, treat people with respect, be a team player, and go home. That's, you know, I just care about good people. That's it. Nothing else.
I like that. Tony, what about you?
That is amazing. With our company, it's a little different. We strive on the culture of the company. So the branding statement or the summary, one is how we feel is that your soft skills go in there. Hey, that you're dedicated, you're hardworking, you're organized will be in your branding statement, as well as asking for the position. Like, hey, I'm a dedicated 20-year veteran looking to make an impact at your organization, whatever position that it may be. So soft skills, asking for the job, and a little bit about yourself. 3 to 5 sentences. That's it. And then your resume should tell a story. So if you have a summary statement, maybe going into your hard skills after that. Hey, I'm C#. I have a CCNA. I know HTML and Java and things like that. And then going into projects, work experience, whatever your background may be. So making sure that your resume tells a story about you.
And I think with our students and alumni, their next question is well, how do I find that? And just like I said earlier, it will be on the job posting.
Mhm.
And that's what people don't really understand.
Mhm.
You'll put that in the job posting.
Mhm.
So if you want Microsoft Office Suite, which should be a basic
Mhm.
skill, but apparently if you're going to put it on your job posting, that's something that you really want.
Mhm.
Something maybe you're lacking in other candidates.
Mhm.
So if it says that, put Microsoft Office Suite.
Absolutely.
Sure. You know, and just another thought with that,
Mhm.
I love that we have 3 like very different companies. So
Yeah, me too. That's
That's
really
actually
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
And in terms of Waffle House, to Tony's point, is those things on the resume, I've probably already met you because I face-to-face network and hire and source. So I've probably already met you.
Mhm.
You know, so that's what I want to know. If I've met you and asked you to apply, that means that I'm probably going to interview you.
Mhm.
You know, so I've already met you, so I know those things that you're going to show up, treat people with respect, work hard, you know,
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's such an interesting take.
Yeah, and I was thinking that as well, is that each answer gave a different piece of that pie.
Right.
You know, you definitely want to tell the story. You know, on one end, the branding statement really isn't as important as all the other meat, or as you said,
Mhm.
the meal,
The entree.
the entree of your resume. You know, and then on the other end, you have, we really want to know who you are. You know, and Tony, speaks to that as well. But I like the addition of that is asking for the job.
Mhm.
You know, says I want this. I'm the right person for this position. But I think the common denominator, and we've seen it, not only on this end, but all the research tells you is to do your research.
Mhm.
Understand the organization, who we are. We're servant leaders. We need people with those skills. We want go-getters who are actually going to go for this position. I think all those tie into that. Not only understanding the keywords and all those things, which is highly important, but really understand who the organization is as a whole. What Quicken Loans wants, what the Waffle House wants, what Hallmark wants. You got to fit into that culture, and we want someone to fit in that culture. And if you do your research and present that well enough on your documents and whatever you submit, whether it's an application or resume, what have you, that's should get you at least to the next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how do you find that out about corporations? Is you go to their website, their about me section, their about whatever, and then you network through, other areas, which leads me to my next question. How do you guys source for passive candidates? Now, I'm really interested, Tamika, and we'll let the ladies go first, but Ashley, how do you do it? You say you meet people personally. So
I do.
Do you do any passive?
You know, there are those, most people, I think, at least from my experience, I think most people are currently employed and having a job. So I think a lot of the time I'm meeting them and then just learning about themselves, and I think I sell myself mostly. So regardless if I'm active or passively recruiting anybody, it doesn't matter to me. Some people are just going to apply. Some people are just like, I want a new job, I've learned about the Waffle House, and some people I'm personally sourcing, but either way, I think either I'm selling myself because they're going to talk to me probably regardless of how they were recruited, or they're seeing things that we do. And like on my LinkedIn, we are such an active company. So I think a lot of people see it in passing and don't realize anything about the Waffle House. You know, it's such a staple in the South, but in the Midwest, it's a different feeling. But in Kansas City, we're always doing stuff. We went to an escape room, laser tag, they're playing paintball today. And I think people see that and either they see that and reach out to me, or maybe they like it and then I follow them. And either way, it's the same to me. I don't do one more than the other. I really don't. So people either see what I do or they see me talk, or I walk around with this guy and people just want to tell me a story.
You're pointing to your badge.
Yes. Oh, yes. Pointing to my name tag that says the Waffle House that I wear at all times. So I would say a lot of my recruiting is passive, honestly. Yours is probably a little different, I'm sure.
Yeah. As far as recruiting passive candidates, so the one thing that I will say that is kind of a bonus is that it's a 100-year-old company.
Hallmark.
Yeah, we're a staple in Kansas. We're a staple in Kansas City. I mean, we've been here, so the brand itself kind of it represents itself. So that's enough to get people to read your email. But you know, when I'm searching for passive candidates, those are typically my best hires because, for one, they're already working, so I know, you know, what they can do. They can clearly articulate what it is that they're looking for, and 9 times out of 10, a person who's passive knows what it's going to take for them to go somewhere else. That's where we're able to find out if we match that person. But I do a lot of different things, like just conversations and networking is where you find people that aren't necessarily looking. And then there are people that are just naturally curious because of who we are. So I do say that the brand makes it a little bit easier to get that call back or to get somebody to actually answer your email. But I mean, at the same time, it's, you know, it's the person that you meet in the store. It's, you could be talking to somebody at your kid's soccer game. You could.
I think that's where it happens the most anyway.
Yeah,
when you're
honestly,
not trying.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I completely agree with you on that. And it's like, I go to a lot of different events in the city. We're doing some heavy networking with Kansas City Women in Technology, trying to do more with Launch Code. So just trying to be at the right places where these individuals are is enough to, even if I'm not after them to come to the organization, I still want to know what's happening around me. So yeah, so what's going on in our IT community. So it's a matter of just being connected with the community. That's where you find them. That's how you attract them, but the name kind of helps. So.
And what roles specifically for passive does LinkedIn play with that? When you're looking at somebody for LinkedIn, how much does LinkedIn play?
It plays a huge role in that, because I can type a Boolean search into LinkedIn and find people in the area that are doing certain things. You could not necessarily know the job that you're looking for and enter those skills, enter those skills into LinkedIn, and then bam, a bunch of different names pop up. So you can use LinkedIn for so many different things. You can learn about what's happening in your area. You can learn about new professionals that are just in the market. You can learn about tech programs. So LinkedIn is I use that a lot. I use that actually. I remember having access to like Career Builder and all the job boards, and they're great, but I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Yeah.
Tony, what's your take on networking and recruiting the passive candidate, or the working candidate, I guess you'd say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. What is your take on the networking and recruiting passive candidates from your perspective?
So just in agreement with the ladies, I definitely, most of the people that I meet are passive. When I cover the West Coast in colleges and military bases. So I meet a lot of transitioning veterans that are transitioning out of the military and college students that are looking for a career. And 90% of the people that I meet are definitely not looking to get into mortgage lending or technology in the mortgage department. It's not the sexy job to get, right? So I have to spruce it up, and a lot of times it's really face to face and letting them know what our company has to offer, and then using LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, and all the social media platforms for all of those passive candidates also helps. But just letting them know that, we own the Cleveland Cavaliers, we own Fathead, we own Gas Station TV, just companies like that fall under our umbrella. Now they're starting to get interested, and they're like, hey, maybe I can be a mortgage banker and get into sales, and then start talking other positions within the company.
So from the opposite angle from that, now we've discussed how you guys source passive candidates. What are some, if any, tips that you would provide for for potential candidates when networking with someone in your position?
If I meet somebody, you're asking if I meet them, what are tips that they have?
What are
for
suggestions you would have for them on making the best impression on you when networking or communicating?
I'll tell you that I struggled with, I was kind of embarrassed to be reaching out to people, but now the name of the game is to network. So my biggest piece of advice is go to that networking event. There is an app called Meetup, and I'm a part of a group called Network After Work. And it's like once or twice a month, and you go there, they provide food, you can have a couple drinks, and I literally just talk to people. And it was really hard for me at first because I'm kind of an introverted extrovert. Like I'm a loner that likes to watch people, but I'm social.
I hear you.
So it was really hard for me, but I think my biggest piece of advice is connect with people on LinkedIn, follow companies, just talk to people, ask how they're doing. When I first got this recruiting job, I literally just on LinkedIn, kind of looked for recruiters. I messaged them and said, hey, I'm a new recruiter. Do you have any tips for me? And 5 minutes later, she said, okay, what's your industry? What are you doing? She gave me tips, and now I have a connection. So biggest piece of advice is just get out and meet people in any way you can, whether it's an event or LinkedIn or whatever it is. Just go.
Yeah. I mean, I think she said it best. I agree. Just get out and go. And then when you're there, just talk to people, have the conversations. Don't be afraid to walk up and make that connection. The person that you meet could be the person that's the key to your next career. So have the conversations, talk, bring substance, ask questions if you want to know. I mean, there are people that walk up to me at events and ask me all the time, so what's it like to work for Hallmark? And then I'm like, yeah, and I just, there's words on it. It's a great company. So, I mean, that's how you're going to find out, A, who the people are that you need to talk to, and B, what the companies are like that you're thinking about getting into. You won't know until you try to meet those people.
Great.
I think something as well, I think just naturally, people want to help people. They just do. So if I meet Tamika and I'm telling her how great my company is, and she has no idea the awesome things that we're debt-free, our compensation, our vacation. She has no idea about that.
Right.
She's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And then we exchange business cards, and 2 weeks later, she says, hey, I have a friend who's a manager of a KFC, got a bachelor's degree, been there 6 years. People just want to help people. So you never know what meeting somebody is going to bring to you. You have no idea. Right. It's just a natural thing that society wants to do. They want to help people that they know.
Yeah. And that's the whole reason why we even go to networking events, whether you're, whether you're a recruiter or whether you're someone who does what we do in education or what have you, or if you're just looking for new business contacts. Everyone goes for that reason, to meet someone new and make a connection. Tony, what's your any tips that you would have for our students and alumni as they go into networking and communicating with recruiters such as yourself?
Same thing everybody else does. But no, realistically, I mean, network is probably the most important thing that you can do on the planet. One thing that I like to tell people is when you go out and you're talking to people, leave a piece of yourself. How can you make an impact in somebody else's life? And what can you learn from someone else? if you go into a conversation thinking that mentality, I mean, sky is the limit. You'll find out everything that you want to know, and as big as the world is, you'll find out how small it is in a conversation.
Good point.
That is a very good point. So we've talked about some of the entry things, you know, the resume, making that connection. So you've met the person that you want to meet, and now you want to bring them in. So how important is that first interview that you have with that candidate that comes into your organization?
It's extremely important. I mean, it's your first point of contact with the people that you need to meet, whether it's hiring managers or whether it's recruiting or whoever. So it's extremely important to bring your A game, but also to bring you, you know, bring your sense of you and what you've been able to do in your business. I mean, that's your front door. So don't take it lightly. Also, never underestimate the value of recruiting. A lot of times people think, well, I'm just meeting with a recruiter, it doesn't matter, but that's your front door into the company. So I don't know, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
You know, and interviewing is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a terrible interviewer because I know that I'm putting on a really nice suit and I'm going to sit straight up. And no matter what anybody says, unless you are just phenomenal, it's a nerve-wracking thing. So it is really, really important in your first interview to be yourself and find that line of professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
But after you research the company, you talk to the recruiter, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you, for something at the Waffle House, we are very relaxed. We're a family organization. So if you meet with me, I'm probably just going to chit chat with you. I'm just going to make you feel comfortable, and then, you know, then we'll kind of dive into what's going on, because it's important. I want you to be yourself. I don't want you to say what you think I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to say who you are, because I'm going to hire that person. So people, we get all bent out of shapes about interviews, and the first interview is so important. I don't want to say at all that it's not, but I think the most important part is to be yourself. Because if you're not, then you might not be the right candidate for that company, and then they may have made a mistake, or you have made a mistake. So it's important to know what you're getting into.
Also, piggybacking off of that as well, I think a lot of people underestimate that it's just as much of an interview for you to interview that company as it is for that company to interview you. A lot of times we get focused on, I want this job, I want this job, I want this job. But really, that's the time when you should be paying attention to see if you really want that job. Look at the environment. Look at the people in the office. Make sure you're paying attention to everything, not just what's happening in that interview situation, but ask questions, because you are interviewing them. What if it's a great company that, or if it's a big company that pays a lot of money, but the manager micromanages and you don't like to be managed? Ask questions so that you can get a feel of what that organization is about as well, because the decision is not just up to us, it's up to you as well.
Right. Yeah, that
100%.
that was something, you know, we had talked about in a previous presentation, as far as understanding what the leadership structure is, what's the communication structure, you know, what's the dress code. You know, there's all kinds of things that can go into that situation, because what may be presented on the first day or in that first encounter, that first meeting, might not be what happens on the actual first day of employment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Tony, what's your take on the first interview?
So in our company, we try and make the candidates feel as comfortable as possible. Usually they've had a phone screen and a phone interview before they even come into the office. So the leader is read through how the first two, the screen and the first interview is went. So they know the right questions to ask, and the leader is really looking to see if they're going to be a culture fit, to say that yay or nay. Maybe ask them a couple of, depending on if they're in technology or, you know, marketing analytics or something like that, they might ask them a couple of questions as far as that. But they're really looking to see, did they dress the part? Were they on time? Did they play a victim when they were asked what happened at your last job? Or just a lot of the small things that we'll see if they're a good culture fit to the company.
Any other particular do's and don'ts you might suggest for people who are preparing for their first interview?
maybe not in the prep stage, but actually when you're in the interview stage, one of the things that I think that people often forget is to answer the question. Listen to what they're sorry. Listen. I'm in your brain. I'm in yours.
Yeah.
Listen to what they're asking you and make sure that you answer the question in its entirety. So if the question is, tell me about a time when you dealt with a disgruntled customer. What happened? How did you resolve the situation? What was the end result? That's actually 4 questions within one question. So take the time, because a lot of times we want to just rattle off an answer right away. But take the time to take a few minutes, few seconds, don't be weird about it, but take a few seconds, process what they have asked you, and make sure that you answer the question.
I have a couple points to that.
Sure.
The first thing I was going to say was answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get in this realm and we're nervous, and I'm the prime example where I'm just going to talk and talk and talk. Answer the question and then ask if they'd like you to elaborate.
Mm-hmm. So
the biggest thing is simply just answer it. So that was the first thing I was going to say. The next thing is prepare some questions.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk and have a good conversation, you're like, nope, that's it. Mm-hmm. So you don't have one question at all about, we work 6 days on, 2 days off. You don't have a question, maybe how that plays into whatever, so prepare some questions. I think that's really important as well. And there was another thing that I can't think of at the moment. A tip, I can't remember. Go to Tony, I'll come back. It was in my brain and she got me all confused. I'm sorry.
Tony, what additional do's and don'ts would you have in that scenario or in that situation?
Definitely a do is be confident. Be confident when you walk in. Be confident in your answers. A lot of, I think, some might, maybes, that they don't allude confidence. This is what I would do. This is how I would impact the business. Be confident, but not too cocky. Be prepared. Make sure you come in with copies of your resume. Be able to talk about the company if you're at. And it just shows that you're showing great interest in what position and what company you're coming into. And then personally, smile. Like, it is the most important thing when coming into an interview. That I meet a lot of veterans that are really stiff, really just eye contact is probably good, but they never smile. So make sure you come in, smile, relax. Recruiters are human too.
That's good. That is good. That's one thing I don't think about a lot. Is how much you smiled, during the interview. I mean, when you mentioned eye contact, for some reason I thought back to my first restaurant job many, many years ago, and I remember the general manager asked me all these questions. It was like, do you have restaurant experience? No. Have you ever waited tables before? No. Have you ever bartended? No. And he said, regardless of all the experience that you don't have, I'm going to give you this job for one reason. And I said, why? He's like, because you made eye contact. And the way I presented, myself in that interview still made him hire me, even though, I mean,
important.
Restaurants train you to do all this stuff, but, even though I didn't have that stuff, he hired me just on what I presented to him in that time. But I think the question thing is something that we hear a lot or you realize that people fail to ask questions
at the end
of the interview. It's just because it's such a huge decision to go into a new job, a new company, new situation, to not have any questions or concerns or additional inquisitive things about this company. It's kind of interesting, but you should definitely be prepared.
And I would say just a little piece of advice that I've kind of learned over the years is don't feel like you have to immediately answer a question if you're unsure of the answer. So you can ask for just a moment, or you can say, that's a really good question. And it's okay to think about it. They're not going to judge. I mean, they're asking questions that you don't know are coming. So if a recruiter's like, oh, they hesitated, then that's probably not the job for you anyway.
Right.
So it's okay if they ask you a 4-part question to say, I'm so sorry, what was the third part of that again? Or, that's a really good question. I would have to say, and then go ahead and go into it. And that is perfectly fine. I mean, we want the right answer. We want what you really, truly think the answer is. So that is what I was going to say.
There you go.
It came right back to my brain now. So that's important. And a good close, I think.
Yeah.
Also,
one more thing.
just a caveat from that is don't fake it.
That was what I was
don't be afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
lying is probably the worst thing that you could do inside of an interview.
And we can see right through that. Yeah. We can typically see right through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to add to that is that, while we talk about the questions that you might be hit with, especially like the situational type questions, tell me about this situation, how did you handle it, and what did you learn from it? A lot of those, even though they might be worded differently from company to company, there's still some pretty traditional questions that might be asked of you. So, so those are questions that, we could obviously help you with. There's lots of resources available on standard interview questions. So if I were to give any, tip on that, is to know those questions and prepare your answers thoroughly and practice them. Do a mock interview. We're all about mock interviews and practicing it because, our model, and Doug will probably say, is whether you screw it up with us, then screw it up with Tamika and Ashley and Tony. So, practice makes perfect. So it makes you a little bit more confident when you go into those situations. But go ahead.
One thing I was going to say, adding to that, is definitely practice the questions and try to be as prepared as you can for the interview. But also don't forget that you have to be able to talk about yourself and articulate who you are. And it's interesting how many times we have people that I could fire 10 different technical questions at them and they can answer them backwards and forwards. But then if I say, okay, talk to me about you. What are you looking for in the next organization? Yeah. And then they're like,
100%.
So know what you want, understand the kind of company. It's almost like you're dating, when you're going on a date, you think about, what do I want in a person? This is your career. You're going to spend more time in the office with these people potentially than you would your own family. So what kind of environment do you want? What do you need? What is it that you're trying to do within your career? The right company is going to match that. So make sure you're ready and prepared with the questions, but be prepared to talk about yourself.
Yeah, that's a common, that is something that we've seen in, situation, is that tell me about yourself question, where if you haven't really thought about it or answered that question, that can be a really hard question to answer. And then there's the question of, how do I even answer that question? Because someone can answer that question and give you a complete history from when I was born until today, or versus, I kind of summarize it in just kind of a, education, or a little bit of personal education, work history. Here I am today. This is what brings me to this moment.
Yeah.
And to your point, what I'd like to get from this moment. What are your goals and expectations?
Yeah. Or if you're completely unsure on what direction they want you to go with that question, ask them. Do you mean from a professional perspective or me personally? Just make sure. I mean, that's a very open, wide-ended question. So
I think to our students and alumni, you heard it here first with our recruiters, is practice, practice, practice. We're always telling you guys to please do as many we'll provide you with as many practice interviews as possible, whether it's 2 or 20, it doesn't matter. But our goal is to have you go into that interview as a conversation, not as an interviewer, as an interviewee. It's so tough, like you said, Ashley, that, wow, it's such a daunting process. Let's make it a conversation rather than an interview. That's what we try to do here. Yeah. Oh, you've heard it from the recruiters, too?
I'll tell you, and I knew every job, like I knew when I got the job because I could feel a connection with the manager. I knew when I got this job. They wanted to meet with me 3 times, and then I found out you didn't have to meet 3 times. So they just wanted to hang out, and that was important to me. And, my prior career, same thing. So it was a conversation, and then they're like, oh my gosh, we have to get to the interview now.
Yeah.
And, and it was wonderful. And you can tell those sticky situations, it is not easy. You spend 60% of your life at work. It's not easy to find the right career, but luckily, find your resources. Jeremy and Doug are really great resources. So.
Yeah, it does make a difference. Appreciate that.
Of course.
But it does. It does, because there are situations that you'll find yourself in. Everybody in this room and in this conversation has been in an interview at that point where you can feel if it's either going the way you want it to, or it's not going the way minutes, you know, but the common denominator is if you're comfortable and prepared and prepped and relaxed and, you know, and, you know, because I think it is a two-way street. You know, the recruiter, you know, definitely wants to make that person feel comfortable and at ease, but at the same time, you know, you want to go into it still comfortable with yourself and who you are and what you bring to the table. And as much of that you have, you can have that relaxed and good conversation, you know, and have that good feeling walking out. But even if you don't, you know, it's okay. You know,
not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
Well, yeah, we had talked about making the best impression during the recruiting process for you guys, and mainly it was face-to-face, but when you guys are doing the phone interviews, because Tony mentioned phone interviews, and then online, what's that first impression, especially with those two areas? Because we talked about face-to-face, but I'm wondering that first process of LinkedIn or phone. Do you have any tips for our
Oh my God, yes.
for that?
Yes. Make that so if you are reaching out to a recruiter via LinkedIn, make it a purposeful connection. The worst connection that I get is when people reach out to me and say, "Are y'all hiring?" Or they say, "Do you have any jobs that I'm qualified for?" What I love to see and what really makes me want to answer that back, because you have to remember, we're fielding a bunch of them. But what makes me really get engaged with that conversation is if you can say, "Tamika, I was looking on your website and I saw you had X, Y, or Z position available. I'm very interested in this role. Can, you know, blah, blah, blah." And that's your connection. That's different than, "What kind of jobs do you think I would be qualified for?" Because then you're putting it back on me. So what I want to see is that you've taken ownership of your job search and you're not asking me to do it for you, but you are investing in Hallmark and you are investing in our time that we have on this interview or on this chat, period. So I want to see that as opposed to someone saying, "Can you connect me with the hiring manager for this position?" Or do you have any jobs? What do you think I could be qualified for? My question is going to be, well, what do you think you're going to be qualified for? So that's really, that's one thing that is huge for me, is making sure that the connection is purposeful and that you are showing your investment into this process, just like you want me to invest in it.
Oh, can I interject just for a second?
Sure.
That is so true, and I love it. And one of my pet peeves is a candidate that comes up and says that they're open to anything.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
anything?
personally, it's one of those, "Hey, I just want to hang up on you right now," or just walk away, because I am not looking for a job. It's you. You should be personally invested in what you want to do and where you're going to go in your career. If you come up to me or we're on the phone and, "Hey, maybe this job didn't work out and you have a plan B," oh, I love it. Let's go. I am going to be all about trying to get you a position.
What's your take on that, Ashley?
I agree with both of those. Most people see my title on something like LinkedIn and they're more curious about what I do. But for those people who took the time to find out who is the recruiter for X, Y, or Z company and then reaches out to them, first of all, props to you guys and gals. That is a huge step. It's a huge part of networking. It's out of your comfort zone. It's something that matters to me, which is probably really superficial. But I care if you message me if you have 15 run-on sentences and the I's are not capitalized. And if you're reaching out to a recruiter who hires for a job, make it professional. Ensure that you even put your signature on there, even though you're messaging me. Put your signature on there. Make sure that you're writing full sentences. That's really important to me because, we do reports. We email, at least at the Waffle House, the chairman and CEO are in our emails. I sat with him literally last night in Atlanta at a dinner table. And so they're in those emails. These people make millions and millions of dollars, and people see that, and make sure that when you do reach out to somebody that's purposeful and professional.
Right.
That is, I think, a huge key. If you write me and everything just looks a mess, that's really hard for me to feel like that's going to be someone who's going to be a team leader. And, you know, if you can't take the time to hit the caps lock button and hit, you know, for the I, that's important to me. It really is. I know that's probably a little bit nitpicky, but it is important to a recruiter.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're asking for a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to walk in your PJs, you're going to walk in a suit.
Right.
So it's the same thing to me, electronically or in person.
Yeah, and I think it's even that overall presentation, it falls under so many different categories. Even when we talk about LinkedIn or even making that connection, you know, how well your information is put together on that and that your profile and how you communicate, it will make a difference.
Right.
I can tell you for a fact, we had someone request to link, they requested a link with someone who is pretty high up within the university a little while back, and I remember actually getting a note from this senior leader saying that, you know, this person that reached out to me, but he did not connect with him because the LinkedIn page was so unfinished, so not well put together, that, you know, he, you know, now he eventually did, I believe, but he had requested that we go take a look at that.
But we're going to look at your page.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every time.
We're going to look at your
Every
page.
single time,
you know,
right.
and you know, and Doug, you know, and Doug is, you know, he's a LinkedIn expert on that. But, you know, if you've been on LinkedIn long enough, you can tell the difference between a well thought out and put together LinkedIn profile versus something that where there's a lot of, I used to use movie quotes, a lot of plot holes and missing information, and just, you don't really, it's vague, and, you know, and it makes you question if you even really want to connect with this person.
Yeah. Another thing that I always tell people is, if you are networking on LinkedIn and you ask a recruiter, can I send you my resume? Make sure that there's synergies between your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And you have people that say things like, you know, well, I didn't put that on there because X, Y, or Z. If that's the page that you're presenting as your professional profile, your resume should be synced with that. So those two should make sense. And a lot of times what people don't understand is when I'm sourcing for candidates and I'm creating those Boolean searches and I'm looking just for people in general and I'm typing keywords, when I look at the LinkedIn profile almost leads off as a resume. It tells me where they've been. It tells me what they've done. Get beyond just listing the name of the company that you work for. Put a snippet about what it is that you're doing, because that's a great advertisement for people to get a personal contact with somebody without them even, you know, without even having to apply for the job. So if you've reached out to me on LinkedIn, first thing I'm going to do is click on your profile and see what's going on. So just something to think about there.
That's great. That's good to know.
I will every time.
Every time. We covered a lot of really great information here today. Any final words of wisdom from your perspective, just some things that you learned in all your time of recruiting and connecting with people? What are some things that you think our students and alumni really should take away today?
The biggest thing is, job hunting is scary. It can be stressful, but at the same time, understand that you just have to make sure that you have read the job description and that you understand the position when you're applying. A lot of times you're going to be out here, you may not hear back from everybody all the time, but be consistent, be focused, keep trying, get back on the horse if you fall off. Also, never underestimate the value, like Ashley was saying, of coming in and talking to career services. When I was first getting into the job world, career services at my college is who helped me learn how to prepare my profile, taught me how to present myself. So, I mean, if you have resources at your fingertips, use them. But just keep trying, keep networking, keep doing everything that you can, and eventually you'll find what you're looking for.
I would say as well, in the world that we live in, we all kind of want immediate gratification. You want to find a job, get hired, and start the next day. The piece of advice is, if it's the right job, and our hiring process is anywhere from 30 to 40 days. So if it's the right job for you, take your time. If it's everything that you want, it won't be a quick process, especially in the professional world. So it's not immediate gratification, so take your time. But definitely make connections. My very good friend from my old career is a recruiter for a financial company, and all the time she'll interview a candidate and say, you know what, he wasn't right for us. I'm going to ask him if it's okay if I give his information to you. And so make connections. Everybody wants to help people. That's what we want to do. Connect with me and Tamika and Tony. And if I know somebody maybe in that industry, of course. So make connections. It's worthwhile. It's just not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Tony, what about you? Any final words of wisdom?
Yes, I am just going to ride on the networking train. Networking is so important. Just making sure that you get out there. I'm probably going to get off of here and see if I can't connect with everyone through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Also, researching the company, making sure that you know the position that you're applying for. Program management in my company won't be the same as Hallmark or Waffle House. Technology position might not be the same at Quicken Loans than it is the other company. So know what you're getting into as well. And lastly, make sure you have a goal so that you can have something to aspire to. That's all I got.
Big thing. I think Ashley had one.
Yes, I just had one more thing that kind of just popped in my head that's important is, especially in our industries, don't be afraid to step out of what your major is. You know, I had an entertainment major with an emphasis in sports and nightlife, and now I'm a area people director, recruiter director for Waffle House. So I really, really, really encourage people to make a list of things that are important for them in a career. That's actually what I did, and I Googled it with the qualities that I wanted, and some options came up. So I encourage people to do that. I think that's really important. And just remember, do not discount the Waffle House and Quicken Loans and Hallmark. I was a sports and entertainment and nightlife kind of gal, and now I'm here. So write down what you want, as Tony said, have a goal, but don't judge a book by its cover. It could be the best company in the world. So that was my last final thought.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think definitely, get out there, ask questions. I can tell you, just one little, anecdote I had from a veteran hiring fair we did last year, where I remember talking to a gentleman who had walked in, and he seemed a little bit tentative about going in, because we've all been to career fairs and hiring fairs and things like that, where there's tons of companies and tons of people and there's tons going on. And I think he was pretty nervous about going in, and I, had a little conversation about, looked at his resume, and I mean, he had so much leadership, so much great experience on his resume. I think there was a lot that he could do, so I really just said, just go in and just have some conversations, just talk to people, whatever the company is, if it's Waffle House, if it's Hallmark, Garmin, Quicken, whoever it is, just have a conversation and just get to know some people and see, and I think things will come from that, and I think when we talk about making those connections, it really is just connect and learn some things.
I went to a network after work event, and I met this guy. He approached me because I had a Waffle House. He said, if you fix that light, I'll come work for you. And I said, what light? And he's talking about the big sign. So I went through all 17 Waffle Houses, and they were all lit up, by the way. And so I messaged him, and I said, hey, were you kidding, And it was like funny banter. He actually came and met with us. And it wasn't the right job for him because he was more corporate dining, and he wanted to stay that path. But he had no idea about what we offered at Waffle House. He had no idea, and he sat with myself and my boss for an hour and a half, and then he has referred me 2 of his own employees who work directly under him. So he was just making a joke, trying to, at that networking event, and it turned out to be a very great relationship, and I actually spoke with him this morning. So we're helping each other out. So meet people. It's important. It'll help. You never know, ever.
That's true. That's awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody. This was a really great discussion on how to make those good connections with recruiters. And we want to, keep the conversation going with our listeners or anyone who watches in the future. We have recorded today's session, so it will be available on YouTube shortly. But I do want to invite everyone to take part in our Career Launch program. It's a free and comprehensive program that we've designed to help from everything that we've talked about today, from establishing your career direction, making sure you have polished resumes and cover letters and interview skills, much, much more, even salary negotiation and social networking, all that good stuff. But it's available to you as a resource here, and we want to talk to you and help in any way we can. So feel free to call us. Our number, for those who are listening on the phone, is 1-800-955-2527, extension 173, or you can email us directly at careerservices@grantham.edu. And if you have any additional questions for our recruiters who have joined us today, we'll gladly relay those to you.
Or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Or connect with LinkedIn. I'm going to go back to the screen here. I want to thank, again, Tamika Sanders with Hallmark, Ashley Graham with Waffle House, and Tony Courtwright with Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Definitely want to thank you guys for joining us today. This has been very helpful. We look forward to
So much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.